Hello friends and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to explore the ecosystem in the German quarry lakes. We have thousands of quarry lakes in Germany, for instance here in Hochstetten in Germany, or also near Karlsruhe and near other cities. These are inhabited by tons of native fish and animal species and plant species, but the ecosystem is threatened by tons of invaders. We have invaders such as the Quagga Mussel from Ukraine. We have the Pumpkinseed Sunfish from the USA. We have, for instance, giant tadpoles that endanger our local species, and tons of crayfish that even kill our local crayfish. Today, we're going to try to understand how this local ecosystem works here in Germany, in our lakes and ponds and rivers, and what kind of threats these invasive species pose. So, I would say, let's not waste any more time and dive right in. Almost every ecosystem on Earth starts with photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process where plants produce energy, chemical energy, out of light energy. So basically glucose or sugars and oxygen. And these two compounds form the base layer for every ecosystem, for every trophic layer above. And it is the same here in nature. If you look everywhere, everything is covered with plants, and also in our local lake ecosystems. Here in southern Germany, in this Quarry Lake, we have tons of annual milfoil. And the annual milfoil is basically the forest that keeps this lake alive. And it is here in this annual milfoil forest where we find our first interesting symbiotic relationship, the freshwater jelly ball. The freshwater jelly ball looks to many people on first sight like a jellyfish, but it's not at all related to jellyfish. In fact, it's an organism that consists of two different kind of life forms. It's not a single organism, it's a colony of organisms. The first building block of freshwater jelly balls is a freshwater protozoan that forms basically the structure of that jelly ball. And the second building block is a microalgae, a chlorella algae, that basically makes the jelly ball green. And the symbiotic relationship between those two organisms looks as follows. While the algae provides the photosynthetic products, so the glucose and the oxygen for the protozoas to live off, the protozoa provides the structural integrity and protection for the algae. So it's a symbiotic relationship for both organisms. And jelly balls usually are a few millimeters to 1 to 2 centimeters, maybe 1 inch in German lakes, but they can reach up to the size of a softball, so roughly this size. And it's interesting because this is on a very small scale a same relationship that we also have with the annual milfoil. The annual milfoil in our quarry ponds and in our quarry lakes has the same role as the microalgae in the freshwater jelly ball as a producer in our local lakes. So if we look here in the lake, we have the annual milfoil forest growing everywhere. Maybe I can even go down, get a little bit. Oh. Super cold. So here we have it, the annual milfoil. And if you look, this lake is completely covered in annual milfoil. And this is where we will dive today and check out some interesting fish and crustaceans and crayfish. Annual milfoil is the basic producer in our lake. And together with algae and phytoplankton, basically algae that grows on surfaces but also in the water column, they form the first layer of our ecosystem. They are the producers. So they produce all the food that is the basic building block of this ecosystem. The algae and plants are then consumed by the next layer in the ecosystem, which is built by small crustaceans such as water fleas or Daphnia and smaller freshwater shrimp. The freshwater shrimp are invasive to Germany. I don't really know which species this is here in the video, but it's definitely not native because there have been native freshwater shrimp in Germany, but they went extinct like millions of years ago. And this one is maybe a Neocaridina davidi shrimp or another species entirely. And these smaller crustaceans, also our native ones, so the Daphnia and other small insects, for instance, have a fierce competition from another country, the Quagga mussel from the Ukraine. The Quagga mussel is originally native to Ukraine, and it entered Germany through the Rhine-Main-Danube Canal. They entered Germany in around 2005 and ended up in local quarry ponds and lakes. Originally, they came through this canal or through rivers, through boats, basically, because they can travel on boats, but also in the ballast tanks of ships. And then they were released into German lakes and ecosystems. And their impact is interesting. They are basically biofilters, just like our aquarium filters, but they are biofilters on steroids. So one mussel can filter, or one quagga mussel rather, can filter up to 1 liter of water per day. And while that may not sound like a lot, if you look at this whole population of quagga mussels at the ground of this river here, it's hundreds or even thousands of them, sometimes per square meter. And if you multiply that by the whole size or whole area of this lake, you can really get an idea of how many mussels are in this lake. They are all over the place in southern Germany and in northern Germany at this point. They filter massive amounts of phytoplankton, so microalgae, the stuff that we've discussed before, that is the building block of our ecosystem. And these are the main food source of water fleas and other trophic layers above them. So if these water fleas, Daphnia, and other zooplankton don't get food anymore, they die, obviously, because the quagga mussel basically competes with them. And then fish, again, lose their food source because fish usually feed on the zooplankton. So what you have in the end, need to flip my notes here because, again, guys, this is not AI generated. This is all handwritten stuff here. So what you end up with is a relatively clear water. You can see the water in this quarry pond or in this quarry lake here is extremely clear. And by the way, this was all built by humans here. This is not natural. This was all built by a concrete manufacturer that is close by. And it's the lake where I grew up next to, like my parent house was over there. Oh, and there's a cool swan. So again, you can see the water is crystal clear in this lake. And this is actually a nice thing for us humans. It looks clean, it looks clear. But for nature, it's not that good. The quagga mussel filters the water, filters the zooplankton out of the water. And with that, the sun that is now very, very strong in the early German spring can permeate through the water or penetrate the water in a very, very deep level. And this is very unusual. And this leads to bottom-dwelling plants to grow faster. And that, again, leads to nutrients moving from the water column to the ground level of the water because the plants basically concentrate the nutrients in themselves. And therefore, even less zooplankton can benefit from the phytoplankton that grows in the water column. The quagga mussel also outcompetes the zebra mussel. The zebra mussel is a local mussel that we could probably even see here on the ground of this lake. Yeah, if there were rocks, we could take up some. But there, I don't really see bare rocks down there. So anyways, the quagga mussel competes and outcompetes the zebra mussel because it can live in deeper waters and reproduce in deeper waters. It colonizes soft and sandy bottoms, as you can see also in this video here. And this is just something the zebra mussel cannot do. The zebra mussel needs a solid rock or stones to attach itself to, and the quagga mussel doesn't have to. The quagga mussel just can use sand or just basically any other bottom. And it reproduces at lower temperatures than the zebra mussel, so it's also faster at reproducing here in German rivers and lakes. And basically, biologists and scientists currently consider eradicating them once they enter the lake ecosystem impossible. So once they are in a lake, you cannot really get rid of them anymore. And this is really something that is terrible for German ecosystems. That's why there's a lot of precautions made when boats enter from one ecosystem to another where the quagga mussel is not present yet. They try to clean them thoroughly and try to empty the ballast tanks before to ensure that the quagga mussel cannot travel from one lake to the other. All right, that was the quagga mussel, and the quagga mussel can be considered a quite new invader to Germany or to German lake ecosystems. And there's also a quite old invader, I would say, the Spiny-Cheek Crayfish. We have discussed the Spiny-Cheek Crayfish in a video before. It's also present in this lake and also in the lake over there. And it was introduced to Germany in the 1890s. So it was originally introduced to replace the native noble crayfish in Germany because its population sizes were decreasing in Germany in the 1890s. So I think a nobleman or a aristocrat thought it was a good idea to introduce the North American spiny-cheek crayfish to the German ecosystem. Originally, it was introduced in Brandenburg, which is in the north of Germany, but over the years it traveled down to the south, and now we are in the south of Germany here at a local quarry pond, and they are basically everywhere. And the bad thing about the spiny-cheek crayfish and about other North American crayfish is that they carry a mold. And that mold is lethal to our native crayfish, but non-lethal to the North American ones. That means when one spiny-cheek crayfish enters a local quarry pond with this size, it can wipe out the whole population of German noble crayfish. And the other bad thing about them is it's quite interesting biologically. It is the spiny-cheek crayfish is capable of doing facultative parthenogenesis. What does that mean? If there's only one crayfish, a female present in a lake like this, it can basically clone itself. And once there are males present in the next generation, for instance, there are some females, some males, then it turns on to sexual reproduction again. So sometimes it's doing asexual reproduction, it's just cloning itself, and sometimes it does sexual reproduction, which is a very, very good reproductive strategy compared to our local crayfish, which are not capable of doing that. That means one crayfish can enter this lake, wipe out the whole noble crayfish population, and then just repopulate it by itself with its own clones. And basically, once the next male enters the lake, it can then start with sexual reproduction to become more genetically diverse again. It's an omnivore that eats basically everything. They eat plants, they eat fish eggs, they eat smaller fish, they eat smaller snails, and basically everything that fits into their claws and into their mouths. And they also reach sexual maturity way faster than our native crayfish, so sometimes within 1 year. Now, this is a very big problem for our local lakes, but basically nature fights back. So we have the smaller crayfish that are preyed upon by perch. So perch, you might not think that this is possible, but perch often snack on smaller crayfish. And the larger ones, even adult ones, are eaten by our northern pikes. The northern pike is this massive fish. It's like this size, basically, like this. When it reaches maturity, it can grow up to 1 meter and 20 centimeters. And the northern pike is, so to say, the shark of the freshwater ecosystem in Germany. They have a very similar role to sharks. So they cull the weak fish. If you have basically sick fish, if you have fish with birth defects, or if you have fish that just have some kind of disease, the northern pike, they are lurkers. So in these milfoil forests, we will also have a look at a underwater footage now. In the milfoil forest, the German pike, or the northern pike rather, they just lurk and wait until fish appears, and then they strike insanely fast. It's really sometimes a bit interesting or confusing to see such a large fish strike at such staggering speeds. They prevent overpopulation. So this is also quite interesting. If you have a population of fish in a lake, there's usually a point they reach a so-called population equilibrium. So you have a curve of fish that basically the prey fish, so the whitefish or the tench or also other fish that grow and grow and grow in population. So there's more and more fish and they get larger and larger. And then you have usually a predator or several predators that also grow in population. And if the predators grow enough, then the prey population goes down. And that's the same in every kind of ecosystem. At the same time, if you have too many predators, they eat all of the whitefish and then they would die again because there's not enough whitefish and prey fish left. But there's also a self-regulating mechanism because it's quite sad but quite cruel, but the northern pike is also cannibal. So once there are too many northern pikes, they just start eating themselves. So they start not themselves, but their own brothers, sisters, and even their own offspring. And they also protect water clarity. So the pike can eat small fish. If there's fewer small fish, they can eat fewer of the zooplankton. The zooplankton, that means the water fleas, for instance, the very small crustaceans, they eat the phytoplankton, and the phytoplankton usually blurs the water or makes the water less clear because it's green basically, right, with the chlorophyll in its cells. And then you have clearer water due to lower algae blooms, basically. And if you had no predators available in these lakes, there would be just tons of whitefish and tons of tench and other like carp and so on, and they would just eat all of the zooplankton away. The northern pike is probably the most prominent fish in angling culture or in fishing culture, sport fishing, in Germany. And they are like the most common trophy. Like my brother, for instance, he's a fisherman or he's an angler and he loves fishing northern pike. But there are closed seasons because they have such an important role for the ecosystem. So you can only fish them or catch them during the season. And in the closed season is usually their season when they are breeding. And they are also size limits. So you have to, depending on the state that you are in Germany at least, I don't know how it is in your country. Maybe you can comment below how that is in your country. There's a size limit. You can only keep them when they are above 50 to 75 centimeters, which is like 20 to 30 inches usually. And they get way, way bigger. Usually it also makes sense to not take home buried females because they can repopulate this whole lake basically by themselves. And if we look at these top or apex predators in German lakes, we only have one fish these days left that can challenge the role of the northern pike, and this is the Wels catfish. The Wels catfish is one of the largest fish we have in Germany. There's only one larger fish that naturally occurs in Germany these days, but only very rarely and only in large rivers. If you know it, comment below. But generally speaking, the Wels catfish is, I would say, the largest fish. They usually get up to 1 to 2 meters, but there were specimens that grow even over 4 or 5 meters in other countries. They get extremely old. They get up to 80 years old and can reach over 100 kilograms in weight. And they have tiny eyes, but super, super sensitive barbels. So they frequently live in these annual milfoil forests as well, but in deeper levels, I would say, than the northern pike. The Wels catfish, they are opportunistic feeders, I would say. They eat everything. They eat carp, they eat pike, they eat tench, they eat other Wels catfish again. And they also eat a Spiny-Cheek Crayfish. They're even, when this is quite interesting, they're even occasionally surface lunging. That means they wait for a pigeon to come close to the water. That's what they often do in cities, but also ducks or smaller geese, and they just eat them. They eat the whole bird at once. And some people claim they even eat smaller dogs and animals that end up in the rivers and lakes. So watch out when you have a chihuahua and going to the lake with that one. It might be the next snack for a Wels catfish. The global warming, and I can even feel the global warming in my neck. I think I should have brought some sunscreen. the global warming helps them grow larger and bigger in Germany. So they outcompete pike sometimes because, again, they grow larger than pike, they live longer, and they tolerate lower O2 levels, so lower oxygen levels in the water, and even murkier waters because the eyesight is not as important for the Wels catfish. But usually they occupy different niches in German lakes and rivers. Usually the pike hunts in a more shallow water and at daylight. This is also important, and it lurks. Whereas the Wels catfish hunts in very deep water and usually during the night, so it's a nocturnal predator. Now, we also in the ecosystem have some other fish that have like not less important roles, but other roles. For instance, the ruff. It's a fish that I personally have never seen, but you can see it in this video footage here. It's a bit smaller than a perch, but it actually looks very similar to perch. It has a highly developed lateral line, which allows the ruff to detect movements and detect movements in the deep also. So usually they also live in deeper waters compared to the normal perch that we have. It eats the eggs of whitefish and perch actually, and it's the primary food source again for pike and perch and larger fish. Then we also have another invasive crayfish called the calico crayfish, which is different from the, I would say, spiny-cheek crayfish because calico crayfish are really good at digging. Unfortunately, we don't have footage of them digging holes, but this is very interesting. The calico crayfish can dig very deep burrows, and in summer, when these lakes dry out, like maybe not a lake this size, this will never dry out, but there's smaller ponds and quarry ponds basically. Also, sometimes the holes where the bombs in the Second World War fell are building not natural ponds, but are building ponds now, and they often dry out during the summer. And our local native crayfish, they cannot survive because they just die. But the calico crayfish can burrow deep and then just wait in this wet burrow until the next rain comes. And this is very helpful for them in increasingly hot summers in Germany due to global warming. They have a way higher chance of surviving compared to our local crayfish and also the spiny-cheek crayfish. The next fish that we have on our list and that we have in this ecosystem is the pumpkinseed sunfish. Pumpkinseed look absolutely beautiful. They look very similar to German ram, but they are not from South America. They are originally from North America, from I think the east of the USA. And they have been introduced by many aquarium hobbyists to local lakes when they don't want to keep their fish anymore. And this is often the case. Often people release guppy fish, they release pumpkin seeds, they release goldfish to local waterways, and this is not a good thing to do. Most of the time, these animals just die during the cold winter in Germany because they are tropical fish. This is, however, not the case for the pumpkin seed. The pumpkin seed is perfectly fine in German weather, and it can tolerate the German winters because it's very similar to the US winters. In the US, it gets even colder than Germany during the winter time. And as I said, they were often introduced by aquarium hobbyists. They have a very different reproduction strategy than our local perch or our other predatory fish in this size, for instance, the ruff. The difference is that they are nest guardians. So the way they reproduce is they build a small nest, so they clear a little area in the water, and you can actually see this here quite well. I don't know if you can see it through the reflection of the water. There's a small area that is, you see it? There's a small area that is slightly cleaner than the other areas, and there's another one, and over there's another one, and over there. You cannot really see it now from this angle. Maybe we will find another spot later where this is more apparent. But basically, the pumpkin seed lay eggs, and then the male and female protect their eggs from predators, and this makes more likely to reach adulthood, their offspring basically. They prey on dragonfly larvae, on water beetles, tadpoles, fish eggs, catfish eggs, on basically everything that our local fish produce here. in terms of offspring is the prey of Pumpkinseed Sunfish. And they have one main competitor. I mean, every other fish eats pumpkin seeds, but they have one main competitor, which is the perch. And the perch also has a quite interesting, I would say, lifestyle. It has 3 stages that it grows up. As a fry, the perch eat zooplankton. So they eat daphnia, they eat all kinds of small shrimplets and stuff like that, small fish fry. Then, when they grow a little larger, they eat just the same thing that pumpkinseed sunfish eat. So they are basically occupying the same niche. They eat small dragonfly larvae, they eat small mayfly nymphs, they eat all kinds of insect larvae, all kinds of smaller fish. And when they eventually reach adulthood, they turn to really like, they look like a bruiser, honestly. They basically become way larger in their adulthood, and they become in some lakes they become apex predators that occupy a very similar niche to northern pikes actually, and they also reach very large sizes. And to be honest, perch is the best fish you can have for lunch or for dinner. It's my absolute favorite fish to eat. It tastes absolutely amazing. They are a natural buffer, I would say, preying on pumpkinseed sunfish and on the Calico crayfish and also the Spiny-Cheek Crayfish. So they act as a buffer, so to say, in the ecosystem because they are natives and they are not endangered at all. Same is for the northern pike. And now we have one more animal in our list that is actually very dangerous for the German ecosystem, and this is the bullfrog. Bullfrog are originally from the eastern USA. They were brought as a food source originally and as a pet for local gardens and ponds. But then somehow they escaped into nature, and they are tolerating our German winters, just like the pumpkinseed sunfish, and they get way bigger than our local frogs. So if we look over there, I think we still have local frogs over here. So usually they start jumping into the water. Over there. There is one, for instance. Can you see it? Come. Let's film. There it is. Just give me the camera. My wife is a bit afraid of frogs, so I have to film quickly. There it is. Anyways. She had to go back because she's afraid of frogs. So anyways, the bullfrog are not present in this lake yet. So we have our normal toads and frogs here, and everything is fine in this lake. But we have lakes that are quite close to this one here, just like 10 minutes from here. And there the bullfrogs have already started to occupy these lakes. They are the largest frog. They are the largest frog species in Europe. They reach up to 20 centimeters. So what's that? Like 8 inches. And up to 600 grams in weight. So they are really massive compared to German frogs, like 4 times the size. And not just the frogs are large, but also their tadpoles are large. The tadpoles measure a size of up to 15 centimeters or 6 inches. And they compete for biofilm with our native like frog and toad tadpole populations because they are just way larger. And they also have an interesting cycle of life because our tadpoles, they always take like half a year until they grow legs, and or even less than half a year. And basically within 1 year, they have to become frogs or toads. And the bullfrog is very different from that because the bullfrog tadpoles, they stay in the water for 2 to even 3 years sometimes, and they can stay in there over winter and reach massive sizes compared to our local tadpoles here. And you can actually hear the frogs now, as if I if they heard me. And this is just why they grow so massive, and they have become a massive problem for our local waters because our local nature really has not a lot to hold against them. Perch can eat them, pike can eat them, but if they reach the size of 15 centimeters, they are usually even too big for those animals. And this is why it's quite difficult for our nature to tackle those. But we have a lot of conservation efforts or nature conservation efforts in Germany to keep them from occupying more and more lakes. And this works way better than, for instance, with the Pumpkinseed Sunfish or the Quagga Mussel in Germany. And this was the last animal that I wanted to cover today. And I think this is a really, really nice time to say thank you to the whole Guppy gang and our newest member in the Tetra gang, actually, who just subscribed last week. I will show them here on the screen. Thank you so much for helping this channel produce videos every week, for helping me work on these videos. It's a lot of time, a lot of effort that goes into these videos. And for me, this wouldn't be possible without you guys in the Tetra and in the Guppy gang. So thank you so much. This is supposed to look like a heart. Thank you so much for your continued support. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. Also, thank you so much for Lorenz for the video footage. These amazing underwater videos were filmed by Lorenz, and I will also link his channel, Lorenz Seebauer, below in the video. And they were filmed in different quarry ponds and quarry lakes in Germany, in southern Germany here. A part of it was filmed in this one, a part of it was filmed in another one. But thank you, Lorenz, so much. And if you found this video interesting, I'm sure you would be interested in this video, where I showed tadpole shrimp in Germany, or in this video. Thanks for watching.